Good morning, respected teacher and my dear friends. Today I'm going to continue with the topic the Indian Mental Health Act 1987 on subject mental health. Under the Mental Health Act, there comes many chapters. So, Chapter 4. Chapter 4 deals with the procedure of admitting the patient to the psychiatric hospital. First, admission on voluntary basis. Any person who considers himself to be mentally ill and wishes to be admitted to psychiatric hospital may apply to the medical officer in charge. If he is minor, the guardian can make the application. On voluntary basis means the patient himself is willing to get admitted in the hospital. But if he or she is minor, then the guardian can make the application for the admission of the patient. Second, admission under special circumstances. This is if a mentally ill patient is not willing to consider himself as a mentally ill patient. If he is not considering himself as mentally ill and he does not want to get admitted, so the guardians can make the application for them to get admitted in the hospital. Third is admission under reception order on application. This is only the relatives who are close members, who are the close family members or friends, only they can make the application for admission. That has to be issued by the medical officer in charge. On production before the magistrate. Mentally ill person exhibiting violent behavior, creating obscene scenes and dangerous to society can be detained by police officer and produced in court within 24 hours, supported by 2 medical certificates, subsequent to which the magistrate issue a reception order. This is if a mentally ill patient creates scenes like which is disgusting or offensive, then and it is dangerous to himself or to others or to the society, then they can be kept by the police officer, but they have to be presented in court within 24 hours. Fourth is admission in emergencies. The medical officer in charge may order admission of mentally ill patient if he thinks that patient is dangerous to himself or others. This is medical officer can make an order for admitting the patient if they think that the mentally ill patient can harm others or himself, so they have to get admitted to the hospital. Fifth is temporary treatment order. It is an order issued by the magistrate in cases where the risk is perceived to the patient's life or to that of others. If medical officer in charge feels it necessary to bring legal authorities into picture, he can do so by applying to the magistrate. Alternatively, the relatives can get magistrate to issue order for treatment. In such cases, single medical certificate is required, valid for 6 months. This is order has to be issued by the magistrate. Magistrates are the one who administer the law. So, they can make the treatment order for the mentally ill patient. Sixth, admission of mentally ill prisoners. Prisoners are the one who are kept in the police stations or under the jail. So, a mentally ill person can be admitted into mental hospital on order of the presiding officer or a court. Like sometimes the mentally ill patient commits some serious crimes, so even the patient who commits crime can be admitted to the hospital, but they have to get a special orders by the officer or court. 7 is miscellaneous admission. A mentally ill patient can be admitted either on humanitarian ground or for observation purpose. Now, the mentally ill patient, they can be admitted in hospital on humanitarian ground. Humanitarian means concerned with human welfare, or they can be kept under observation. So now, Chapter 5. Chapter 5 deals with the procedure of discharge. As Chapter 4 it deals with admitting, so admission, and then Chapter 5 deals with discharge. First is discharge of patient admitted on voluntary basis. Now, this is the patient who was admitted on his own will. That patient can be recommended for discharge by the practitioner or the psychiatric. Second is discharge of patient admitted under special circumstances. That is not spider, it is special. Okay. A relative or friend may make an application to medical officer for care and custody of patient. A friend or the relative can take the custody. They can take the patient under care of their own. The relatives are required to furnish bond with or without sureties. They have to make sure that they will prevent the mentally ill patient to cause any harm to themselves or to others. Then only they can be get discharged. Third is discharge of patient admitted on reception order. An applicant who feels that patient has recovered from illness may make an application for discharge to the magistrate. The one who, like the guardians or the relatives, if they think that the patient has recovered, then they can make an application for the discharge of that patient. Fourth is discharge of patient admitted by police. In case where the police detain the mentally ill person, he may be discharged after family members agree in writing to take proper care. Like if the mentally ill patient was admitted by police, then he can be get discharged only if the family takes the responsibility to take care of the patient. Then only they can get discharged. 5 is discharge of mentally ill prisoners. Hospital authorities have to report every 6 months about the person's state of mind to the authority. Now, the mentally ill person who have committed crimes, they are also kept in psychiatric hospital. But the hospital authorities have to report every 6 months to the in charge. So as soon as they find that the person is able to stand the trial, that is, if they find that now the mentally ill person can go to the court, then they should inform the authority, and then the mentally ill person is handed to the prison officer for the legal action. 6 is leave of absence. On application by relative to the officer in charge and bond signed by them stating that patient will be taken proper care and prevented from injury, self or others, leave of absence may be granted. Maximum 60 days. Like leave of absences, if the relative or the guardians make the decision that they can make the decision or states that the patient will be taken care by them, then they can inform the officer in charge and they can take the leave. Maximum of 60 days. Now chapter 6. It deals with judicial inquiry regarding mentally ill person possessing property. A guardian may be appointed by court of law on behalf of an alleged mentally ill person. This is judicial inquiry, means law or court. If a mentally ill person possesses any kind of property, then they can be get discharged, but the guardian have to be appointed. A particular guardian have to be appointed to take care of them. Chapter 7. It deals with ways and means to meet the cost of maintenance of mentally ill person detained. This is the chapter 7 deals with the maintenance of mentally ill person detained. Person detained means who are kept under the hospital. It deals with their maintenance. Chapter 8. Latest addition to the Act, which provides protection of human rights for mentally ill person. That is, we all have human rights. Even the mentally ill person have their particular rights. So this chapter deals with the rights of mentally ill person. This includes: first is, no mentally ill person shall be subjected during treatment to an indignity, physical or mental cruelty. That is, mentally ill person mentally ill person is subjected during no mentally ill person shall be subjected during treatment. That is, they cannot be questioned during their period of treatment. Second, no patient under treatment shall be used for purpose of research unless such research is of direct benefit to him. Consent has been obtained in writing from person. That is, no mentally ill person shall be used for any purposes of the research, unless that such research can only benefit, unless and until the research can benefit the mentally ill person, and the consent has to be signed or obtained. Third is, no letter or communication sent by or to a mentally ill person shall be intercepted, detained or destroyed. Like if a mentally ill person is communicated by the guardians or relatives, that cannot be detained. The letters cannot be detained or kept, or it cannot also be destroyed. Chapter 9. It deals with procedures to be followed for the establishment and maintenance of psychiatric hospital. This deals with the maintenance of the hospital and the penalty, which can be severe and explicit. Penalty means the punishment. Last is Chapter 10. It deals with clarification pertaining to certain procedures to be followed by medical officer in charge of the hospital. This deals with the procedures, that deals with the clarification of pertaining the certain procedures to be followed, which has to be followed by medical officer in charge. So this much for the Mental Health Act. Thank you.